Typhoon Morakot devastated Taiwan's mountainous areas. Helicopters were called in to bring group after group of victims down from the mountains. Now, survivors are a long way from getting back to their homes. We can live in temporary houses for now. Then the experts and the government will reassess the situation to determine whether the residents of the Taiwan can go back. If not, then we will sit down with the residents to discuss a permanent solution. Putting the victims in prefabricated housing is easy. Any relocation plan, however, that does not consider the culture, history, land ownership, and livelihood of the indigenous could cause more harm than good. To prevent further suffering, the government should sit down and listen to the survivors. During the 1970s, the indigenous were against relocating the Kucapungane Community. They thought it was dangerous to move next to a riverbed. At that time, however, the government forced the community to do so anyway. Then in 1996, nearly 30 years later, Typhoon Herb submerged two-thirds of the community. Now Typhoon Morakot has completely buried the community. The same thing happened to the Taiwan community. The old and new Taiwan community were separated only by a bridge. During Typhoon Morakot, the previous location was fine, but the current one was half destroyed by a mudslide. Indigenous living in the mountains have never been a problem. The issue is one of land management. I've said this before and I will say it again. Mining and logging are being done mostly by non-indigenous outsiders. The indigenous know better than to do this to the land. The indigenous have found a way to live with their environment for centuries, yet Taiwan's legislative yuan passed the Relocation and Reconstruction Plan after only 3 days of review. Once again, the voices of the indigenous were ignored. 2 years later, the victims of Typhoon Herb were temporarily relocated. 10 years ago, the September 21, 1999 earthquake victims were relocated. Yet problems still exist. It may be harsh to say that the indigenous suffer regardless of what the government does or does not do. When it comes to relocation and forest management policies, it will be very hard for these people to trust the government again. TITV Weekly.